My girlfriend told me she is pregnant, but I know I can't have children. My name's Alex, and I'm 23 years old. I come from a wealthy family where everything seems perfect on the outside, but behind closed doors, my life is anything but that. My relationship with Mia, my girlfriend, is like a roller coaster, full of ups and downs, twists and turns. I often wonder if love is supposed to feel this complicated. Mia is passionate, and I admire that about her. But sometimes her passion turns into something darker. Jealousy. I can't count how many times we fought over her insecurities. There's this one memory that stands out clearly. It was at a party thrown by one of my father's business partners. I was talking to a friend, a girl named Sarah, when I noticed Mia glaring at me from across the room. Her face was a mix of anger and hurt. When I approached her, she exploded, accusing me of flirting. I tried to explain, but it only made things worse. That night ended with us arguing in front of everyone, and I felt humiliated. Then there was another time. I was helping my cousin Emma pick out a dress for a family wedding. It was innocent. She needed advice. But when Mia found out, she went wild. She confronted me, demanding to know why I was spending time with another woman. I tried to reassure her, but her jealousy was like a storm that wouldn't pass. It felt suffocating. Now, sitting on the couch in our apartment, I can feel the tension in the air. It's palpable, like static before a storm. Mia walks in and her face is unreadable. My heart races, unsure of what to expect. We've been through so much together, but tonight feels different. Mia, can we talk? I ask, my voice slightly shaky. She nods, her eyes darting away from mine. Yeah, we need to. I can feel the weight of her words before they even come out. We sit across from each other, and I brace myself for the conversation. My mind races through all the scenarios. What could it be this time? Another fight? Another reason to question our relationship? Then she takes a deep breath, and I can see the struggle in her eyes. Alex, I'm pregnant. Those words hit me like a freight train. My heart drops, and my mind goes blank. Pregnant? How is that possible? I can't have children. I remember the doctor's words from years ago. You'll have trouble conceiving. I thought that meant I'd never have to worry about anything like this. But here we are. What do you mean you're pregnant? I managed to stammer out, my voice barely above a whisper. I took a test. It's positive, Alex. I'm going to have a baby, she says, her voice shaking. Panic washes over me. I feel a mix of emotions, confusion, fear, and then anger. How can this be happening? I can't have kids. The realization hits me like a slap in the face. Mia, you must have been with someone else. You cheated on me? The accusation hangs heavy in the air. Her expression shifts from shock to hurt. How can you think that? I love you, Alex. But how else could this happen? You must have been with someone else. My voice rises, fueled by a whirlwind of betrayal and disbelief. Mia starts to cry, her shoulders shaking. I swear, I haven't cheated on you. I don't know how this happened. The fight that ensues is explosive. We scream at each other, words laced with pain and confusion. I can't help but bring up all the times I felt her jealousy tearing us apart. This is your fault. You always act like I'm going to leave you. I shout, feeling my own heart shatter with every accusation. In the heat of the moment, I can see her crumble. I'm sorry, Alex. I'm scared. I didn't mean to. But I can't hear her. All I can think about is the betrayal I feel, even if it's not confirmed. Just leave, I yell, my voice breaking. I can't do this right now. I need you to go. Mia stares at me, her eyes wide with disbelief. Alex, please, don't do this. But the anger surges through me like a tidal wave, drowning out any compassion. Get out. Just go. With trembling hands, she grabs her things. I watch, my heart heavy as she walks out the door. The sound of the door closing behind her echoes in my mind. Once she's gone, the silence feels deafening. I sit alone in the dim light of our apartment, surrounded by memories of happier times. But now, everything is tainted. The walls that once felt like home now feel like a prison. I want to scream, cry, and punch something all at once. My mind races through 1,000 thoughts. How could she do this? How could I let it come to this? I feel lost, like a ship adrift at sea, and I have no idea how to navigate these waters. As the reality of the situation sinks in, I realize that my life has changed forever. I'm left with a heart full of confusion and anger, wondering how we went from love to this dark moment in such a short time. I know one thing for sure. I need answers, and I need to figure out how to move on from this betrayal. But for now, all I can do is sit in the darkness, feeling the weight of my decisions. After Mia left, the apartment felt like a ghost town. I sat in silence, replaying our fight in my mind. The sound of her crying echoed in my ears, mixed with my own anger and confusion. I wanted to scream, to throw something, but instead I just felt hollow. Every corner of the place reminded me of happier times, times that now felt like a cruel joke. Days passed, but the pain didn't fade. I tried to distract myself. I went out with friends, drank too much, and pretended everything was fine. But whenever I closed my eyes, the image of Mia's tear-streaked face haunted me. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had been betrayed, and I needed to find out the truth. One night, as I sat alone with a drink in hand, I made a decision. I had to know what was going on. I took a deep breath and walked to Mia's old laptop, which she had left behind. My heart raced as I opened it and waited for it to boot up. I felt like a thief in the night, about to uncover secrets I might regret finding. Once the computer was on, I found her email account. I hesitated for a moment, guilt washing over me, but the need for answers drowned it out. I typed in her password, her birthday, without even thinking. I had known her so well. The screen lit up, and I felt a rush of adrenaline. I started to scroll through her emails, heart pounding in my chest. Then I found it. A series of emails exchanged between Mia and Leo. As I read through them, my stomach dropped. The messages were flirty at first, but then they turned into something deeper. My hands shook as I continued reading, feeling as if the ground beneath me was giving way. They discussed feelings, shared secrets, and then there it was, a message where Mia confessed that she was pregnant. And Leo replied, saying he would always be there for her. My heart shattered. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Leo, my best friend, was the father of Mia's child. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I had ever felt. I sat back in the chair, breathless, as the reality of the situation hit me. I had lost not only the woman I loved but also my closest friend. It felt like my whole world had crumbled in an instant. I wanted to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. Instead, a rage built inside me, a storm of emotions swirling around. How could they do this to me? How could Mia, who had claimed to love me, betray me like this? And Leo, my friend, how could he? I slammed the laptop shut and got up, pacing the room like a caged animal. My mind was racing with thoughts of revenge, of confronting them both. But what good would that do? I felt utterly alone. The weight of the betrayal pressed down on me, making it hard to breathe. The next few days were a blur of despair and anger. I didn't want to see anyone. I canceled plans with friends and avoided social media. Every notification on my phone felt like a reminder of my loss. I spent most of my time in my room, replaying memories of Mia and Leo together. I remembered the laughter, the inside jokes, and the times we all hung out. It felt like a cruel joke, and I was the punchline. In the middle of this chaos, I had moments of clarity. I needed to take control of my life again. I couldn't let them win by wallowing in pain. So I began to focus on myself. I hit the gym hard, pushing my body to the limit. Lifting weights became my therapy. I could forget the pain for a while as I focused on the burn in my muscles. But even that didn't last. When I got home, the emptiness would return, and I found myself staring at the walls, haunted by memories. I would think about what might have been if Mia hadn't cheated. Would we have had a happy family? Would we have made it through the hard times? The questions tormented me, each one sharper than the last. One evening, feeling particularly lost, I decided to go for a drive. I needed to clear my head, to feel something other than this overwhelming sadness. I drove aimlessly through the city, the lights blurring by as my thoughts spiraled. I found myself parked at a familiar spot overlooking the river. It was where Mia and I had shared so many good times. As I sat there, I realized I was holding on to the pain. I was allowing their betrayal to define me. But I couldn't keep living like this. I took a deep breath, letting the cool night air fill my lungs. I needed to let go of the anger, to stop allowing them to control my happiness. With a newfound determination, I decided I would fund my future. I would take time to heal and grow, away from the shadows of Mia and Leo. They had chosen their path, and I needed to choose mine. The thought of starting over was daunting, but it also sparked a flicker of hope within me. I began to plan. Maybe I would travel, see new places, meet new people, I wouldn't let this define who I was or who I would become. As I drove home that night, I felt a small weight lift from my shoulders. I was still hurt, still angry, but I knew that I would not let their choices dictate my life. I was ready to take control and face whatever came next, even if it meant stepping into the unknown. With a heavy heart, I made my way to the bar where Leo and I used to hang out. The neon lights buzzed above me, casting a glow on the faces of people laughing and drinking. But I felt like a ghost moving through a crowd of living souls. I needed to confront him, to get answers about what had happened between him and Mia. As I entered, I spotted Leo sitting at a table in the back. He looked relaxed, as if nothing was wrong. My fists clenched at my sides. I took a deep breath, reminding myself that I needed to stay calm. But the anger bubbled up inside me, ready to explode. "Leo," I said, my voice low but firm as I approached him. He looked up, surprise flickering in his eyes. "Alex, hey man, I didn't expect to see you here." His casual tone only fueled my anger. "Cut the crap, Leo. We need to talk," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. He nodded, a hint of nervousness creeping into his expression. We settled into a tense silence, the noise of the bar fading into the background. I didn't want to waste time on small talk. I needed answers. "I know about you and Mia," I said, staring him down. "I know you're the father of her baby." His face paled, and for a moment I thought he would deny it, but he didn't. "Alex, listen. Don't give me that. How could you betray me like this?" I snapped, unable to hold back my frustration. "You were my best friend. You were supposed to be loyal." "I didn't mean for it to happen. It was a mistake," he insisted, his hands raised defensively. "Mia came on to me. I swear I didn't seek it out. She's the one who pushed me." My heart raced, but I could feel a mixture of rage and disbelief. "So it's her fault now? You're just gonna pass the blame? Come on, Alex. You can't just see it that way," Leo said, his voice rising. "You know how she gets. She was all over me, and I—" "Stop," I interrupted, feeling the anger boil over. "You're making excuses for what you did. You let this happen." The conversation spiraled into a heated argument, voices growing louder with every exchange. I could see people turning their heads, glancing over at us. I didn't care. I needed him to understand the pain he had caused. "You were supposed to have my back," I shouted, my voice breaking. "You let me think everything was fine while you were sleeping with my girlfriend." Leo leaned back, frustration etched on his face. "I'm not the bad guy here. You don't know what it was like for me. I didn't want to hurt you, but it just happened." "Then how can you sit here and act like it's not a big deal?" I shot back. "You think this is just some mistake. You both betrayed me." The air was thick with tension, and for a moment, we just stared at each other. It felt like everything I had ever known was collapsing around me. I had lost Mia and Leo, and the weight of that betrayal was crushing. "Alex, look," Leo said, his voice softer now. "You have to understand something. I care about you, but you have your own issues too. You always put pressure on Mia. You expect her to be perfect, to fit into this image you have in your mind." His words pierced through me like daggers. I had always tried to be the best boyfriend, but maybe I hadn't been fair to her. Maybe I hadn't seen her struggles. But that didn't justify what they had done. "Don't you dare twist this around on me," I yelled, the anger and hurt bubbling over. "This is not about me. This is about you two being disloyal." I couldn't take it anymore. The pain, the betrayal, and the guilt I felt were too much to bear. In a moment of impulse, I launched myself at Leo, throwing a punch that connected with his jaw. The impact sent shockwaves through my arm, and I felt a rush of adrenaline. The bar erupted into chaos. People gasped, and I could hear chairs scraping against the floor as others moved back. Leo stumbled, shocked, and for a second, I felt a surge of satisfaction. But it quickly faded as I realized the consequences of my actions. "Get out! Get out of my face!" I shouted, pointing to the exit. Leo rubbed his jaw, anger flashing in his eyes. "You're gonna regret this, Alex." I didn't care. I stormed out of the bar, my heart racing. I felt a mix of triumph and regret. I had stood up for myself, but at what cost? I was left with nothing but my anger, and it was consuming me. Outside, the cool night air hit my face, and I took a deep breath. I leaned against my car, trying to calm my racing heart. The reality of what just happened sunk in, and I felt lost. I had always thought of Leo as a brother, and now I had lost him. The betrayal cut deeper than anything Mia had done. I had to let it go. But how? With my head spinning, I got into my car and drove aimlessly through the city streets. The lights blurred past me, just like my thoughts. I needed to find a way to heal, to move forward. But the anger still lingered, intertwining with the pain and confusion. As I drove, I realized I couldn't keep running from this. I needed to confront my feelings and face what had happened. It was the only way I could begin to heal from this storm of emotions. But for now, I was lost in the darkness, searching for a way out. After the confrontation with Leo, I felt a hollow emptiness consume me. I tried to shake off the anger, but it lingered, like a shadow I couldn't escape. Days turned into weeks, and every moment reminded me of the betrayal. I stopped hanging out with friends, avoided my usual haunts, and spent most of my time locked away in my apartment, drowning in my own thoughts. Eventually, I realized I couldn't keep living like this. The weight of my emotions was too heavy to bear. I needed a change, something drastic to help me forget, to help me heal. That's when the idea of traveling crossed my mind. With money from my family, I could explore the world and find a fresh start away from all the pain. I began planning a trip, mapping out places I had always dreamed of visiting. Paris, Tokyo, Rio de Janeiro. The thought of standing in those cities filled me with a sense of hope. I wanted to see new sights, experience different cultures, and meet new people. Most importantly, I wanted to escape the memories of Mia and Leo that haunted me every day. A few weeks later, I boarded a plane to Europe, the first stop on my journey. As the plane lifted off, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I was finally leaving behind the hurt and betrayal, at least for a while. The excitement of adventure surged through me, pushing away the darkness that had settled in my heart. Paris was everything I had imagined and more. The Eiffel Tower sparkled against the night sky, and the city buzzed with life. I wandered the streets, taking in the sights and sounds, and for the first time in a long while, I felt free. I spent my days exploring art galleries, sipping coffee in quaint cafes, and meeting fellow travelers from around the world. But even in the midst of this beauty, I found myself grappling with my emotions. I would meet women who were drawn to my charm and wealth, but I could see their true intentions behind their smiles. Many seemed interested only in my status, eager to bask in the glow of my family's name. It was disheartening. I didn't want to be with someone who only saw me as a ticket to a glamorous life. One evening, while having dinner at a rooftop restaurant overlooking the city, I met a woman named Clara. She was traveling alone, and there was something genuine about her that caught my attention. We struck up a conversation that felt natural and effortless. As we talked, I found myself opening up about my recent heartbreak. I hesitated at first, unsure if I could trust her, but something about her warmth made me feel safe. I've had my share of heartaches too, Clara shared, her eyes reflecting understanding. It's hard to find people who genuinely care. Her words resonated with me. We spent the evening talking, laughing, and enjoying the view. For the first time since everything happened, I felt a flicker of connection. But as the night went on, I couldn't shake the fear of falling back into the same traps. I promised myself I wouldn't get hurt again. After a few days in Paris, I decided to move on to my next destination, Rome. I visited the Colosseum and marveled at the beauty of the Vatican. Each city brought new experiences, but I remained guarded, always keeping a safe distance from anyone who showed interest in me. I wanted to enjoy life without the baggage of relationships. As I traveled through Europe, I reflected on the relationships I had formed in the past. I had always been the type to rush into things, to invest my heart fully without considering the consequences. But now, I was more cautious. I started to recognize the signs of superficiality in people, especially those who sought out my wealth and status. In Barcelona, I met a group of travelers who were backpacking through Europe. They welcomed me into their circle, and for the first time in a long while, I felt like I belonged. We shared stories around a campfire on the beach, laughing and enjoying each other's company without any pretense. It was refreshing to be around people who valued experiences over material things. I found myself growing closer to these friends, but I remained careful. I wouldn't allow myself to get too attached. I had learned my lesson. Whenever someone showed interest in me, I would gently deflect, keeping things light and casual. My heart was still fragile, and I didn't want to risk another painful betrayal. As the weeks passed, I continued my journey through different cities: Amsterdam, Berlin, and finally, Athens. Each place brought new sights and sounds, but I realized that no matter how far I traveled, I couldn't escape the lessons I had learned. I was beginning to understand the importance of trust and loyalty, and how rare they were. By the time I returned home, I felt a shift within myself. I was still carrying the scars of my past, but I had also grown stronger. The world had opened up before me, and I realized that my worth wasn't defined by my relationships or the people I surrounded myself with. It was about how I chose to live my life. Back home, I took some time to reflect. I knew that healing would take time, and I was okay with that. I wouldn't rush into another relationship or allow myself to fall for someone without truly knowing them. I had learned to value genuine connections over superficial ones. With renewed determination, I began to focus on myself. I enrolled in a few courses, picked up new hobbies, and even started volunteering. I wanted to fill my life with meaningful experiences rather than empty pursuits. It was liberating to embrace this new chapter of my life, one where I had the power to shape my own destiny. As I looked ahead, I felt hopeful. The road to healing wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face whatever came next. I was no longer just the guy who had been betrayed. I was Alex, a man who was learning to stand tall, free from the chains of the past. I had taken control of my life, and I was determined to make the most of it, one step at a time. As my travels came to an end, I reflected on the journey I had taken. Each city had gifted me with new experiences, and I had met incredible people who changed the way I saw life. From the street artists in Barcelona to the history buffs in Athens, everyone had a story that taught me something valuable. In Thailand, I participated in a local festival. The vibrant colors, laughter, and warmth of the people filled my heart with joy. I realized that life could be simple, yet beautiful. I learned to appreciate the little moments: a shared meal, a sunset, or a friendly conversation. These experiences showed me that true happiness doesn't come from wealth or status, but from connections with others. One evening in Florence, I met an artist named Luca. He was passionate about his work and spoke about art as if it was a living thing. As we walked through the streets, he explained how art could heal wounds and tell stories. His perspective on life resonated with me. I realized that just like art, relationships require care, trust, and respect to flourish. I started to let go of my past fears. I understood that not everyone would betray me. I began to believe that healthy relationships were possible. Watching Luca interact with others, I saw how genuine connections could form when people were open and honest. This inspired me to be more vulnerable and authentic. By the time I returned home, I felt transformed. The weight of my past had lessened, and I was no longer just the guy who had been hurt. I was a man who had traveled the world, learned about myself, and grown in ways I never thought possible. I stepped off the plane with a sense of purpose, ready to face whatever came next. Back home, I took a moment to breathe in the familiar air. Everything felt different now. I had a new perspective on life and relationships. I knew that healing was an ongoing process, but I felt equipped to handle it. I had learned to embrace my vulnerability, and that gave me strength. As I settled back into my routine, I reached out to my old friends. I wanted to reconnect with the people who had been there for me before everything fell apart. We met for coffee, and it felt good to laugh and share stories again. I realized that true friends are the ones who stand by you through thick and thin. Months passed, and I focused on myself. I started painting again, something I had loved as a child but had neglected for years. It was therapeutic. Each brushstroke allowed me to express my feelings, to release the pain I had carried. I joined a local art class, meeting people who shared my passion. It felt invigorating to be part of a community again. Then, one evening at an art exhibit, I met a woman named Sophia. She was kind, funny, and had a warmth that drew me in. As we talked about art and our lives, I felt a spark of connection. But this time, I approached it differently. I was open, but cautious. I took my time, getting to know her without rushing into anything. Sophia shared her own experiences and heartbreaks, and I realized that she, too, had learned to navigate the complexities of relationships. We laughed, shared dreams, and slowly built a friendship grounded in trust. It felt refreshing to connect without the pressure of expectation. As weeks turned into months, I found myself opening up to Sophia in ways I hadn't expected. I told her about my travels, my past heartache, and the lessons I had learned. She listened without judgment, offering her own insights. It was a beautiful exchange, and I felt safe with her. One evening, as we walked through a park, the setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. I looked at her and realized I had feelings for her. But unlike before, I wasn't scared. I had learned that love could be a wonderful adventure if built on honesty and respect. With a hopeful heart, I took a deep breath and said, "Sophia, I really enjoy spending time with you. I want to see where this can go, but I also want to take things slow." She smiled, and her eyes sparkled with understanding. "I feel the same way, Alex. Let's take our time and see where this leads." In that moment, I felt a wave of relief and happiness wash over me. I understood that while the pain of my past had shaped me, it did not define my future. I was ready to embrace new possibilities, and with Sophia by my side, I felt like I was beginning a new chapter filled with hope and love. I had come a long way, from heartbreak to healing. Life was unpredictable, but I was ready to face whatever came next with an open heart. I was no longer afraid of the past. I was excited about the future, and for the first time in a long time, I felt truly free. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next video. See you next time.